right, so this is going to be on like terms and the distributive property. That is in 5.2 in our book, which is called Equivalent Equations, if you want to go take a look at that. So this is a review from last year. So we're going to start out with the word terms. So terms is anything separated by addition. Okay, so in this equation down at the bottom, you notice there's some subtraction. So I'm going to rewrite this, getting rid of the subtraction. So I have 5x plus 4. Instead of minus 3x, I'm going to write plus negative 3x. So minus 3x is the same thing as plus negative 3x. Equals 10. Instead of minus 24, I'm going to write plus negative 24. 4. There you go. So let's look at how many terms we have here. We have 5x. We have 4. We have negative 3x. We have 10. And we have negative 24. So there are 5 different terms in this equation. Okay, so a term, anything separated by the addition sign. So you see in between each of those terms is an addition sign. Now, like terms are any terms that can be combined. So like terms, terms that can be combined. So looking at our equation, on the left side, I have 2 like terms. 5x and negative 3x can be added up to 2x altogether. They can be added up because they both have the x and a coefficient, but they both have an x. 4 does not have an x, so it is not a like term. Okay? So I would just keep that 4 there. So 2x and 4 cannot be combined because they are not like terms. They don't have an x. On the right side of my equation, I have 10 and negative 24. Those can be combined to negative 14. Now, while 4 and negative 14 are like terms, I cannot currently combine them because they're on opposite sides of the equation. So these numbers I can't combine right now because they're on opposite sides. Later, when I start solving, I can start combining those. Okay, so that is combining like terms. Let's practice some of those as we continue to solve some equations. So we'll do this one together. I typically like to break up the problem into the left side and the right side of the equation. So that way you can simplify everything on the left side, simplify everything on the right side, and then start solving the equation. So on the left side, we have negative 34 and 12 are our like terms. I can combine those to negative 22. Still have the x. Then I can do 9 plus negative 17. So 9 plus negative 17 is negative 8. So I have combined all my like terms. I've completely simplified each side of my equation. Now I can begin to solve the equation. So I'm going to switch colors so we differentiate that we're now solving. So solving, all I'm going to have to do is isolate my x by adding 22, just like we did in the last lesson. Adding 22. So I have x equals positive 14. And I am done. Okay? So it is much easier to simplify and then solve instead of trying to do a lot of steps of solving. You can do this a different way and add the opposite of the 12 and the negative 34 separately, but I think it's better to simplify first. All right, go ahead and try this one on your own, and then we'll go over it. So go ahead and pause it. All right, so let's do this one together. I'm going to split my problem in half, and I'm going to change that minus to plus a negative. All right, so on the left side, I'm going to combine my like terms. 6x and negative 5x is just 1x altogether. You can write the 1 if you want, but you don't really need it. Just remember, x is just, it stands for 1x. Still have the plus 10. Then on the right side, I have 24 and 8. So 24 and 8 is 32. Now I'm going to solve. I'm going to add the opposite, and I get x equals 22. All right, next problem. Go ahead and try this one on your own. Let's see if you remember the distributive property. And then hit play for a review. All right, so this is a distributive property problem. If you don't remember this from last year, the way you have to do it is that 8 is multiplying by both those terms inside the parentheses. The terms are h, I'm going to change this to plus and negative, h and negative 10, okay? So that 8 is going to multiply by each of those terms. So I will have 8h plus negative 80. 8 times h is 8h. 8 times negative 10 is negative 80. Keep that plus in between, okay? And it still equals 14. So that is simplifying that equation. And then I'm just going to solve it like I always would. Add the opposite. Add the opposite. Get 94 equals 8h. Do my reciprocal. Do my reciprocal, and I can simplify this down some. So let's see, divided by 2, I get 4 and 47. And then now there's nothing else I can do to simplify that. So I'm going to leave it as h equals 47 over 4. There's no reason really to make that a mixed number. If you want to, you can. If you want to make it a decimal, you can. But it's fine to leave it as that improper fraction. So let's review what the distributive property is. It's a number outside the parentheses that's multiplying by each term within the parentheses. Okay, so let's write that down. A number outside parentheses that multiplies by each term in the parentheses. So just like we did in our example, that 8 multiplied by the h and by the negative 10. All right, so let's continue to practice this. So go ahead and pause this. I want you to try this one on your own. So the very first step you need to do is distribute. If you notice you need to distribute, you need to do that first. So go ahead and pause that and do this problem out. All right, so let's look at this. So like I said, the first step is to distribute. So I have 14 equals 4t, okay? And this is plus a negative 9 that's being distributed to each one of these. So I'm going to have plus negative 9 times t is negative 9t plus negative 9 times 12 is going to be negative 108. So I've distributed. Now the 4t I left alone. It's good I changed it to plus a negative 9 because make sure you're distributing out that negative to both the t and the 12. All right, now I'm going to combine any like terms I see. So I see 4t and negative 9t. Altogether, that's negative 5t. Keep my plus negative 108. Keep my 14. Now I'm ready to solve. So I'm going to add the opposite. Add the opposite. So 122 equals negative 5t. Do the reciprocal. Cancel out that negative 5 coefficient. Now negative 5 and 122 can't simplify it at all. So I'm going to leave it as negative 122 over 5. You don't need to make it a mixed number. You don't need to make it a decimal. That answer is fine. All right, this is our last one. Go ahead and try this one on your own, and then we'll go over it together. All right, so let's see what we did. So this has a little bit of everything. So on the left side, I'm going to go ahead and simplify this. So 34 plus negative 9 is 25. On the right side, I'm going to make that plus negative 7. And I need to distribute the negative 7 first. You always distribute before you can combine because that 2f and the 8 are stuck inside the parentheses here. I can't get those out without distributing. So I'm going to have 12f plus negative 7 times 2. So negative 7 times 2 is negative 14f. And then negative 7 times 8 is negative 56. So now that I've distributed, I can combine my like terms. 12f and negative 14f is negative 2f. Plus my negative 56 still, and I still have 25 over here. All right, now I'm ready to solve. I've finished simplifying. I'm going to add my opposite. Add my opposite. 81 equals negative 2f. Do my reciprocal. Reciprocal. And I get f equals negative 81 over 2. And I'm just going to leave it just like that. And that's it. So that is combining like terms and the distributive property.